The Business of Relationships, the book you're writing, who is the book for, and how does business and relationship have a relationship from what you've processed in your life experience? And can you tie it back to when the idea came?
Sure. When I first thought about the book, my thought process was, how do I get men interested in reading a book about marriage? It's not a topic that most men are going to go, wow, I can't wait to read a book about women's emotions. And so I really just kind of mulled over, what do men know the most about? The work they do. Most men identify themselves with the work they do. So I said, let me see how I could get men interested in reading relationship books. And if I structured it around something that they'd spend 40 to 80 hours a week doing, and I can get them interested in approaching a relationship like they do their job. Because most people take pride in the work they do and they get benefit out of it, but they don't view their relationship with that same intentionality. So the thought process was, how do I get a man to want to pick up a book about relationships? And as I started thinking through the process, I said, well, even somebody who's a stay-at-home mom, they have a job. They go through the same process. They think about the same things in the same way. So the relationship between the two is taking something that you know and taking something that you probably haven't thought about as much. How does my relationship function in a good way? And if I can structure it in a way that allows you to line, this is how I do my job, this is how I do my relationship. And if I can rinse and repeat my job to my relationship, it's probably going to make it a little bit easier than trying to say, okay, let me introduce this foreign concept, DNA of relationships. We've done that. I've taught on it. It's a foreign concept, and it's not, oh, let me pick it up and I can just do this because it's what I already do. So the actual process of doing the relationship can be aligned very similar to business. One thing that you do in every job you're in, you get a performance evaluation. In marriage, how many people stop and take a yearly assessment of how did we do last year? How many people in their relationship set goals for what they're supposed to achieve the next year? Every job I've ever done, like, here's your goals, go hit it. I know what I'm shooting for in my job. I don't always know what I'm shooting for in my relationship unless I become intentional and say, hey, let me do this in a way that's structured, that allows me to understand how am I performing as a husband. And one of my VPs in HR told me a long time ago, she goes, feedback is just what somebody else needs from you. It's not a personal criticism. And in relationship, if you give your wife a safe space to say, you missed the mark this year, you really underperformed. My needs weren't met. You weren't present when you were home. I really don't like the way that you've been talking to me. And here's what I'd like to set for a goal for next year. Let's both work towards that goal. You know where you're headed. In relationship, you just do it. I come home, my wife's there. Yep, we're in relationship. We just do the day-to-day and we forget about it.
If you're a guy and you're not necessarily in a place where you're wanting to work on yourself, you feel like you can just kick the ball down the road, what would you say to that guy that you feel like could benefit from your knowledge and your teachings and your concepts of introducing this into his life and pursuing this knowledge in this fashion? What would you say to that person?
I think it'd be a cool conversation and I'd love to have it, but I think it'd really be, if you really want to have a home life that you enjoy, because most people enjoy their work. A lot of people don't, but once you find something that you enjoy doing and you feel comfortable and you do it over and over again, wouldn't it be cool if your relationship ran very similar to how your work life ran? And you actually get to influence and control that if you follow this structure. It gives you a simple, easy process that you can pick up. It tells you, here's a performance evaluation example. Here's a peace plan example. Here's things that you can fill out and implement in your house that gives you the ability to do things in a way that you do in business. My wife and I are both in leadership, and we tend to know from the top what that looks like and why why we do what we do organizationally, and being able to give people who may not be in leadership, may not be in the executive position, elevating them to the CEO of your home, elevating your spouse to the COO of the home, and really just helping to align roles and responsibilities. Most couples argue about the daily chores. If you take the time to write them out, assign roles and responsibilities. Every employee I've ever had, they have roles and responsibilities, and they know what's expected of them. And the 1 Minute Manager is one of the coolest books for anybody in management. It says you can't hold somebody to an expectation they don't know. Many spouses have expectations that they've never voiced to their spouse. I'm holding a set of expectations in my head that you have no idea about. And now you're going along life, think you're doing great, and I'm mad. You're like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why are you mad at me? You never, or you always, the 2 words I don't like to use, you never do this. You're like, what are you talking about? I do that all the time. If I'm in my head, Cam needs to call me every day and he doesn't, and I've never said, Cam, I need you to call me every day, and you don't call me for 2 weeks, when you call me, I'm irritated. I don't have conversation with you. I'm not in a relationship with you. I'm mad. If your spouse doesn't want you to call them at work, say, babe, I can't take calls at work. Angel and I have a system. If she calls me and I don't answer, and she texts me and I don't answer, she'll ping my watch. That tells me it's an emergency. When I'm in counseling, I just can't stand up and be like, hey, let me take this text. That's kind of rude. But if my phone dings or my watch dings, I know that there's an emergency that I have to attend to, and she never abuses that. I know what the expectation is. She knows she can get a hold of me even when I'm in a counseling session if there's an emergency. But if we never talked about that, she would sit there and go, oh my God, there's an emergency. How do I get my husband? I'm just going to keep calling his phone. I don't answer my phone. I don't even look at my phone during a counseling session. So really just, I want to get men excited about marriage. I want to get men excited about, I can do this because it's a structure I can follow. And in organizations doing manufacturing, there's Six Sigma and there's Lean. And it's how do you make things the most efficient? How do you remove steps that are unnecessary? What is the core problem and how do we solve it? And it's a systematic process. And if you follow through the process, it's an easy way to eliminate problems. The only healthy conflict avoidance that I like is when you address miscommunications or missed expectations at the time they occur. And if you go back to the roles and responsibilities, and I know my job is to take out the garbage. And I've had a bad day, things are hurting, and I go to Angel, I can't take out the garbage tonight. Will you do that for me? I'll make it up to you. She knows, I know that's my expectation. I've communicated, I just can't do it tonight. Will you do that for me? That makes it a lot easier than her in her head thinking, oh, husband's supposed to take out the trash. He's not doing it. He's being lazy. I wish he would do that. Why doesn't my husband do what he needs to? If I know that's my job and I ask for grace and mercy and, hey, can you do it for me? I do it. Why? That also tells her she has the ability to ask me when she doesn't have it. Now we both know each other's expectations. And you don't have a problem asking a colleague at work, hey man, I'm slammed. Can you help me with this? They're like, sure, I'll help you out. But at home, we often don't do that because that's your job. Well, I thought that was your job. And they never communicate it. And they just go around mad at each other thinking that both of them are taking advantage. So it's really just giving you a systematic way to run your relationship so that it's healthy, that it's effective. Most people don't have budgets. And if you are an investor and you go look over a business and you're like, hey, let me see your financials. They're like, yeah, we don't have any. Well, how do you know you're going to be able to make payroll? Well, we just kind of hope every Friday that we have enough money in the business account to cover it. I wouldn't invest a dime. Most marriages are running around without a budget. We hope we can make it. Be systematic. Run your house the way a business is run, and you'll find a lot more household success. So it gives you a way to be successful with a blueprint that you can follow and then customize for how do I make this work in my house?